Hello everyone and welcome to this week's apprenticeship talk. We've got Dan the Apprenticeship Lead from Plumpton College here today to talk to you about apprenticeships. Please feel free to use the Q&A box to ask any questions which we'll ask Dan at the end. Hope you enjoy the talk. Thank you for coming today. Over to you, Dan.
Hi Rosie, thank you very much. My name is Dan Carlson. So I'm Head of Employer Engagement at Plumpton College, responsible for driving our apprenticeship programme here and building the partnerships that we have with employers. I'm going to share my screen with you, so just bear with me 1 second, and if you can give me a thumbs up. There we go. So, as I said, thank you very much, Rosie, for giving me the opportunity to present today. This is going to be quite a broad brushstroke presentation to provide some insight into apprenticeships whole and also to provide people with some information about Plumpton and the apprenticeship programme and the suite of apprenticeship programmes that we have to offer. So firstly, Plumpton. As I mentioned, I thought I'd start off by giving some information about who we are and where we are. We're a specialist land-based further and higher education college situated a few miles from Brighton. We welcome over 1,000 full and part-time learners aged 14 to adult from across the country, offering access to courses from entry level right up to master's degrees. Personal interests to industry legislative courses for employers, and of course apprenticeships. We have a 400-acre commercial farm and a vineyard called Rock Lodge, producing award-winning wine and sparkling wine. In addition to our Plumpton campus, which you'll see part of it on your screen there, we also have our soon-to-open One Garden Brighton site, a newly redeveloped tourist destination and specialist teaching centre featuring expertly designed gardens, the One Garden kitchen, a place where visitors can come and eat and drink, and our One Garden market, a retail space complete with nursery. This commercial enterprise will allow our students to get a real industry first-hand experience to supplement the learning that they do with us on one of our courses. We also have our adventure centre up in Snowdonia, used as part of our adventure sports programme. So I'm here today to talk about apprenticeships. Plumpton, as I mentioned, we're a specialist land-based provider of apprenticeships. Our portfolio of 16 land-based and agri-food focused apprenticeship standards range from arboriculture to veterinary nursing. Our programmes are a mixture of intermediate and advanced, running from approximately 18 months to 36 months. Each programme has a specific delivery model to best suit the development of the necessary skills, knowledge and behaviours an apprentice requires in their chosen field. So that could be attending practical workshops at our campus, our butchery facility or our bakery kitchen once a week or once a fortnight, or in some cases on a block week attendance, coming down to us for a period of time, staying on site if they're from further afield, every few months. Sometimes it's even a mixture of all of these. What all apprentices will receive as part of their apprenticeship programme is a blended learning experience. This has been enhanced even further this year for the obvious reasons with COVID and lockdown. So what that means is supplementing the practical skills development with us. There is also an ongoing virtual learning experience using this very platform, Microsoft Teams, to ensure that the continuing development of an apprentice's theoretical knowledge is provided when they can't come to us. And there is a continuous engagement with our industry trained delivery teams. So that's provided a bit of an insight into what we at Plumpton have to offer. As I mentioned early on, what I'd like to do is just provide a bit of an overview about what an apprenticeship is. So I'm going to take it right back to the beginning. There are a lot of misconceptions about apprenticeships, what they are and who they are for. So I thought I'd provide some of the mechanics behind what an apprenticeship is. So firstly, what is an apprenticeship? There are lots of different ways to describe what an apprenticeship is. And what you see on screen there is what I believe is the best way of explaining what one is. The key word in that statement is employee. So to undertake an apprenticeship, you have to be employed with a contract of employment that lasts for the duration of an apprenticeship. So this includes holiday pay, access to tools or equipment. You're another member of staff. And that's a really important first point to make, because quite often we have people applying for an apprenticeship presuming that it works the same way as one of our study program courses, or maybe even our higher education courses. So an apprenticeship is a mixture of practical and theory-based learning specific to a job role that you're being paid to do. And the aim is to develop those skills, knowledge and behaviours to be successful in that job role. So as part of that learning programme, there could be specific qualifications required to allow you to reach your professional competence. So for example, if you're training to be an arborist on an arborist apprenticeship programme, you will do up to 10 tickets within the practical period of your apprenticeship. These tickets can range from a 1 day right up to a 2 or 3 day training programme, which will be LANTRA or MPTC, City and Guilds assessment qualification. All these qualifications are required to be competent and be allowed to work in that particular industry. The best way to describe what an apprenticeship is to use a driving analogy, or learning to drive. So what will happen is you will spend a period of time developing your skills, knowledge and behaviours with the college and the support of your employer to reach a level of competency where we all agreed that you've achieved everything and you've learned everything you need to be competent in that job role that you've been employed to do. Once that point has been reached, you'll be entered into Gateway and you'll be passed through into what is called the endpoint assessment. This is your driving test or your theory test, where someone, not your training provider, so not in our case, not Plumpton College, will assess your skills, knowledge and behaviours that you've learnt and developed over your apprenticeship programme. This is quite a change to how apprenticeships used to be delivered, but one that we very much embrace and agree is the way to drive productivity and skills in today's workforce, to ensure that you're not learning to pass a particular unit or qualification at that time. You're learning and understanding the specialism in which you're undertaking your apprenticeship in, to ensure that you will have a long and fruitful career in the area in which you're learning. So who can be an apprentice? Again, there are some confusions with a perception that an apprentice is only for those who aren't academic or just starting out on their career journey. An apprentice is available to anyone over 16 who is eligible to work and has been in the UK residence for a minimum of 3 years. There's no age limit. In fact, myself, and I won't give you my age, I'm looking to do an apprenticeship in the summer while undertaking this very job that I'm doing. This is really important to bear in mind, particularly for those that are looking to secure an apprenticeship. You won't be competing just about your peer group, something that you potentially have just been used to if you're just leaving education or starting out in your career ladder. It's really important to understand that attaining and securing an apprenticeship is the same as securing and attaining any full-time job. And so you need to ensure that how you present and how you apply yourself in that application process is the same as you would do in any other form of trying to secure employment. A really common question that we get is, how do apprentices learn? So how you will learn and how apprentices learn is very much dependent on the programme, the level, and even the training provider. What they all have in common is that an apprentice will spend at least 20% of their contracted hours in training or learning. Now, that doesn't mean spending 20% of the time away from the workplace, though more often than not, the time is spent off-site developing the skills required to do the job. What the time is for is to develop the skills, knowledge and behaviours to be successful in the chosen job role. So it could be time away from just your normal working duties, shadowing another member of staff, or maybe in a different department. It could be receiving training from a manufacturer on a new piece of equipment that is beneficial and useful and required as part of your job role. Or it could even be taking part in a skills competition like UK or World Skills, something that we actively support and promote to our apprentices and their employers. What is not included in the 20% is dedicated time to achieve maths and English, something that I didn't mention earlier, but is integral into an apprentice's learning experience. Maths and English is a requirement for any individual's future success. And there is a requirement that anyone who undertakes an apprenticeship should be able to achieve at least a level 1 or a level 2 maths and English qualification, depending on the level of their apprenticeship programme. At Plumpton, we have a dedicated maths and English team, and we will support all our apprentices putting together a bespoke learning package for them to achieve that qualification. Those maths and English requirements are only for those that do not already have a level 2 maths and English qualification. So that's a GCSE in normal terms. And this study time is spent outside of the time dedicated to developing the skills, knowledge and behaviours for the job role and the apprenticeship programme that you're undertaking. So again, it's really important to realise that when undertaking an apprenticeship, yes, it is a job, you'll be employed with a contract of employment, but as part of your normal contracted hours, you'll be spending at least 20% of that time, and in some cases even more, developing and honing your skills to allow you to be able to do your job role that you're being paid to do as competently as possible. So my final slide is about finding an apprenticeship. I mentioned early on and in my first slide that to undertake an apprenticeship, first and foremost, you need to be employed. Now, we've seen a shift over the years with more people approaching us, looking to develop their skills further, who are already in a job and are looking to take that next step in their career, maybe advancing into a more supervisory role, or developing their skills to undertake qualifications in an industry that they'd only just started working in and had learned on the job. We also find a number of our students considering apprenticeships as a progression pathway from their full-time programmes that they undertake with us. And so more and more of our time is looking to support them and linking them with the number of employers that we partner with. One of the ways that we do this is to support our students with our Plumpton College Talent Bank service. Now, the reason I mention this is this service isn't just available for our existing students, it's available for anyone looking for an opportunity to undertake an apprenticeship in the land-based sector. The Talent Bank service has been developed to support individuals who don't necessarily have an employer lined up, provide advice and guidance on how to search for an apprenticeship, tips on applying and being successful in interview. As I mentioned, an apprenticeship first and foremost is a job. So looking for an apprenticeship shouldn't really be seen as any different to looking for and securing a job. We will highlight opportunities that we develop through our partnership with those employers. A number come to us directly wanting to take on an apprentice, whether it's at entry level or someone more experienced. Another way in which you can find an apprenticeship opportunity is to approach your school or college career service. They will have a number of bits of information and guidance to support you to identify different ways and opportunities in which you can go about trying to find the opportunity that best suits your particular needs. The National Apprenticeship Service is another really useful tool. Putting that into a search engine, you'll find a suite of different support services available, including the Find an Apprenticeship recruitment job board. This is a job board that you can log into, set up a profile, and you'll have access to every available apprenticeship opportunity based nationally, whether it's linked on location, pay, or type of apprenticeship programme. You would apply through that job board, which would go to the training provider or the employer, and in the same way as if you were applying for a job via one of the many job boards available, you'll be notified if you've been successful and be invited in for interview. A more common way and a very proactive way that we're seeing being done more often is an individual approaching an employer directly, trying to find an opportunity. This is a very successful way in many instances, as it gives the job seeker or the apprentice seeker an opportunity to make first-hand engagement with a recruiting employer, introduce themselves and give them that opportunity to present themselves slightly differently as they would do on a piece of paper or on an application form. If you're entering into and applying for an apprenticeship at intermediate level, most employers are recruiting not on skill set but on mindset. Your soft skills, how you conduct yourself, are you presentable, how you come across, are you enthusiastic, have you done some research? This is a very difficult approach to evidence through an application form or a traditional CV. So approaching an employer directly, and considering the situation we're in at the moment, that's really going to be over the telephone or via something like Microsoft Teams or Zoom rather than face to face. We see an increasing number of people taking this approach. You can also approach your local job centre, again, currently virtually. They will advertise apprenticeship vacancies either from local training providers, but they will also provide access to the Recruit an Apprentice job board, highlighting any local jobs within the area to allow you to search through those. And again, another option, employers realise the need for them to promote opportunities via social media. We've seen an increase in the number of businesses recruiting and promoting opportunities this way. And something that we will do when we work with employers is promote their opportunities via our different social media channels. It has improved considerably over the number of years. The way in which businesses realise that one way of attracting people into their business is to promote those opportunities on those social media channels. Another way, which isn't listed, is ask your friends and family. Everyone should hopefully have contacts in industries that may have opportunities for apprenticeships. So the best way to try and find an opportunity is to ask those closest to you. And if not, I'm sure they'll be able to give you advice and tips on how to successfully go about securing that opportunity. So that's it. That hopefully gives you a bit of an overview about us at Plumpton, who we are, what we do, and also to give a bit of insight into what an apprenticeship is and who they're for and who can do them, and a few tips there on how you can go about securing one. I look forward to answering any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Dan. That was a great presentation. We're just wondering is there any accommodation available?
Yes, so the great thing about Plumpton is we do have accommodation available on site. So, for example, our viticulture apprenticeship programme, we welcome crop technicians from across the country, employed by various vineyards, and they come to us, or they were coming to us outside of lockdown, and they'd come and stay with us for a period of a week. Likewise, we work with the National Trust and the Royal Horticultural Society, delivering apprenticeship programs to their horticultural apprentices. And again, prior to COVID and lockdown, they used to come and stay with us. What's really important to highlight, though, is that that accommodation is an additional cost and normally picked up by an employer. But it's important in those discussions with an employer, any future employer, that is ironed out and included in those contractual obligations, so there isn't any confusion or embarrassment down the line.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. And what's the application and interview process like? So
for an apprenticeship, it really varies. So it depends on the level. So levels, we offer intermediate and advanced, but an apprenticeship can be done right up to level 7, so master's degrees. So each programme will have a slightly different entry criteria, but the main entry criteria really sits around, does the employer want to recruit you for the job role? And if they feel that you have got the skills, the potential skills and knowledge to fulfill that job role, then that's the biggest part of that recruitment, that entry criteria. We will always assess for maths and English, because we want to ensure that people are going to be able to achieve those maths and English qualifications if they don't already have them. But other than that, there is a requirement, as long as no one has over 50% of the skills and knowledge that they would develop on an apprenticeship programme. So, for example, if someone's been a butcher for 20 years, they wouldn't necessarily be enrolled on, well, they wouldn't be enrolled on a butchery apprenticeship programme.
Perfect, thank you.
Another question, Dan, what we've got is, in terms of skills, because you've mentioned skills quite a lot, what would you say the most important, maybe top 3 or 4, would you say undertaking apprenticeships would be looking for?
It's a good question, James. So I would go generic, to be honest. It's less, an apprenticeship is about developing the skills. It's more about mindset and soft skills. And it would be the same applies for an apprenticeship as it would be for any job hunting. So what employers really want to know is, are you reliable? Will you turn up? Are you enthusiastic? Are you presentable? And are you there? Do you want to do the job or the apprenticeship that you're applying to do? Now, they're very generic skills, but they apply to every industry. Most employers that we work with say, we will work with Plumpton to develop the individual skills. What we struggle with is developing that mindset to make people realise that they have to come to work, that they're part of a team and that they're adding to the success of a business. The great thing about an apprenticeship is it includes behaviours. And so we spend a lot of time to try to develop that mindset in people. But it's really important that people understand that to be successful in your application, in the interview process, to beat the person who's applying as well, you have to show those basic core competencies that any employee needs to have.
Thank you for that, Dan. Another one's come through in terms of looking at the apprenticeship route versus traditional routes. Mm-hmm. Would you say there's much more variety in terms of apprenticeships out there, and how widely available would you say in the current climate we're in, are they around and available?
Okay, so I mean, the first point, as mentioned, you can do an apprenticeship at any time. So you have people that have completed degrees will undertake an apprenticeship. I mentioned I'm going to do an apprenticeship hopefully in end of August, beginning of September. I went through the traditional educational process and went to university, but it doesn't stop me or hinder me in being able to do an apprenticeship program. There are nearly, and I believe at last time, 598 different apprenticeship pathways or programs available. Whether they are available in your area or not is another question. Some are incredibly niche, others are more generalist. So business administration, for example, there are a number of different providers throughout the country. My advice to anyone looking to do an apprenticeship is first and foremost look at what type of industries are in your local area. It's much easier travelling to work if you don't have to travel too far or have to relocate. That will then give you that opportunity to identify potential apprenticeship opportunities. Likewise, you may be, as a lot of people who go to university, willing to relocate. So that then opens up the scope for the type of different apprenticeship programs that are available. But really, it's important to get an understanding of what you're interested in, really. And then if what you're interested in is available locally to you, because you need an employer to support you, you need to make that decision.
Thank you very much, Dan. That's a really comprehensive answer.
Dan, I know you said that you do assessments for maths and English. So I was just wondering, is there any support for people with dyslexia?
100%. At the support given to apprentices will be the same support that we give to every student at Plumpton, and it will be the same for every training provider. The aim of the apprenticeship is to allow people to achieve and be the best that they possibly can. And so if people do require additional learning support, that is put in place, and that's identified very early on as part of the onboarding process that someone will go through. And whether that's allowing them additional time or whether it's providing a scribe or whatever it may be, through the initial application process and assessment of that individual, we will identify any additional support they need and ensure that they have that support as part of that program.
Perfect, thank you. And I know sometimes people are wondering, compared to uni, what the social life is like. I know you said you've got accommodation, so I just wondered what the social life would be like, obviously maybe in a pre-COVID world now.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think university and doing an apprenticeship is a very different experience. And we say to you, the first thing you really need to consider is, are you ready to go out and work? You know, apprenticeship is not the easy option. Yeah. Working and studying is you know, it takes some getting used to. And if you're not ready, don't panic. There are other options. And like I said, you can do it at any time. What's great with apprenticeship programs that we have, where we bring people from across the country, that very quickly those apprentices in that cohort build a camaraderie up, because they will all have a very unique experience on their apprenticeship program. The shared aspect will be the learning experience that they have on their apprenticeship when they spend their time with us, but the majority of the time they'll be in their own workplace, working with their teammates, undertaking duties that are specific to that particular business in that particular location. So we work really hard at trying to forge that camaraderie through the use of things like Microsoft Teams, ensuring that there is regular bringing together to enhance that experience and that togetherness. When they come to us at Plumpton, they've got access to a suite of resources in the same that any of our full-time students do. So we've got a gym on site, we've got tennis courts, we've got games rooms, we've got a variety of different things available. For those that are older, there's even a bar. But yeah, there's, you know, it's really important that we enhance that learning experience. Again, it's worth highlighting that because the learning experience makes up someone's contracted hours, apprentices are being paid to be in learning. So we see ourselves as an extension of that employer. So when they come to us, that's as if they're being paid to be there. And so it's a pretty full-on learning experience that they have, because the employer wants to make sure that they're getting value for money and that their employee is developing their skills. So it's quite an intensive period when they come to us. But obviously in the free time, in the evenings, there's lots of opportunity, and Brighton is only a short taxi ride away.
Perfect. No, that all sounds really good. That brings us to the end of the talk today, Dan. Thank you so much. I think you've explained everything in great detail, and we've got some nice questions answered there. If anybody has any burning questions after today, you can email askanambassador@canterbury.ac.uk, which we can forward on to Dan. Hopefully that's okay with you, Dan. And
yeah,
then
no worries.
Back to anybody. So yeah, thanks everyone for coming. I hope you've all had a great apprenticeship week. And thanks again, Dan, and hope you all have a lovely weekend.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Rosie.
Bye.